Hey, today I want to talk to you about cars, Hot Wheels cars in particular. Not really. What I do want to talk to you about today is division. So, if we begin with 8 cars and I asked you to divide it by 2, what does that mean? Sort of what you might see in school or know in school is 8 divided by 2 equals 4. Okay, perfect. So, let's continue talking about that. And what I really want to talk to you about today is, like I said, division with fractions. So, how would you write 8 as a fraction? Can I write it as 8 over 1? Are you nodding your head yes? Awesome. So, 8 over 1 divided by 2 over 1. What do you think the answer to that is? Well, if 8 over 1 is the same as 8, and 2 over 1 is the same as 2, then I'm assuming that my answer has to be the same, but I'm going to write it in the form of 4 over 1. Now, what does that 1 really mean? What's the point? What is the point? Well, the 1 really does not change the amount we are looking at. Any value divided by 1 is the original value, right? Creating a denominator of 1 simply fractionizes the whole number without changing its value. I can kind of see that this makes some sense. Hopefully, you're seeing that it makes some kind of sense. Let's look at it now. If I said 8 over 2 divided by 4 over 2. Those are fractions, right? They're still improper fractions, and really I could simplify that to be 4 divided by 2, right? Because 8 halves is 4, and 4 halves is 2. So I know the answer has to be 2, but I want you to think about trying this. You know how when you multiply fractions, you sort of go straight across numerator and denominator, or even when you add and subtract fractions, you can go straight across, but you have to have a common denominator? Well, I want you to think about common denominator with division of fractions. And to do that, if I'm starting here with 8 and 4, 8 divided by 4 is just 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 2 over 1 is equivalent, right, to 2. So the answer is the same, whether I have written in improper fraction form or whole number form. You with me so far? So I'm going to take 4 thirds divided by 1 half. Now, let's think about that for a minute. 4 thirds is more than 1, right? I know that. And a half is, well, half of 1. So the answer should be somewhere a little more than 2. Because 2 halves makes a whole. This is more than a whole. So the answer should be 2 and a bit. That I'm pretty certain of. 2 and a bit. Now, let's try and convert this into common denominators. 2 and 3, they're both prime numbers. If you skip count by 3, skip count by 2, they'll match up at 6. So let's go with 6 as our common denominator. Now, if the 3 becomes a 6, that's doubled, or times 2, right? So the 4 needs to become an 8. And when 2 became a 6, that's times 3. So then I take numerator 1 times 3 and get 3. So 3 6. I've got 8 divided by 3. Well, what is 8 divided by 3? I don't really know beyond it. I know it's 8 thirds, right? 8 divided by 3. It still says 8 divided by 3, right? And 6 divided by 6, that's just 1. So if I put it all over 1, that's crazy looking. That's called a complex fraction, but really that's the exact same thing as just 8 thirds. Well, what is 8 thirds written as a mixed number? Is it 2 and a bit? That's what we're hoping for, right? Is it 2 and a bit? Well, 3 plus 3 is 6, so I can get, I'm going to draw it like I would show a student sometimes. I can get 3 thirds, that's 1 whole. I can get another group of 3 thirds out of it. That's another whole. And how many are left over? Well, so far I've got 2 groups of 3/3. That's 3/3 plus 3/3, 6/3. So then I'm left with 2 other thirds hanging out there. So 3/3 and 3/3 is 2, and I'm left with 2/3, and that's my answer. And is that similar to 2 and a bit? 4/3 divided by 1/2 equals 2 2/3. What did I do to get there? I made common denominators, and then I divided. Knowing that my denominator is divided would give me 1, which technically sort of makes it go away, because anything divided by 1 is itself, right? So 8/3 divided by 1 is still just 8/3. And then I converted 8/3 to a mixed number and got 2 2/3. Okay, so let's try one more. Let's just say it's 5/4 divided by 1/2. I'm trying to figure out 5/4 and dividing it into groups of a half. So first I'm going to try and find the common denominator for 4 and 2. What would it be? It will be 4, right? So I'm going to rewrite this problem as 5/4 divided by 2/4, because 1/2 converts to 2/4. Now, what is 5 divided by 2? Well, it's an improper fraction. 5/2, and then 4 divided by 4 is 1. Anything divided by 1 is just itself, so the answer here is 5/2, which, what is 5 divided by 2? Is 2 groups. Basically, I got 2 halves, and 2 halves, and 1/2 left over, right? 4 halves plus 1/2 is 5 halves. So there's 2 whole and 1/2 left over. So the answer to 5/4 divided by 1/2 is 2.5. I suggest that you try a few of these and then compare it to the flip and switch algorithm, which you might have already learned in school. And if you've also done some work with manipulatives or drawings, try that out too. And we'll look at some drawings in a future video. Thanks.